Live from Studio 67 in Florida's capital county, it's time to get fact-checked.
Access granted.
Welcome back, good people of Florida. It is time for another episode of Fact Check. Episode 1, you might have caught episode 0 last week where we gave a county preview, but this one is the real deal. You've got myself, Jared. You've got Courtney here with us today. We got the new guy, Pete, who's coming along real nicely. And then last but very not least, we have got Amir with us today. It is week 1 of session, so happy opening week to everybody. Hope it's treating you well so far. When did it start feeling real for you guys?
Committee week 1. Just feels like we've been going through it since then. At least me.
Well,
immigration
you have been busy with some kind of extracurricular stuff outside the legislature, as far as immigration and stuff like that. That has been weird, though. They're almost on a 3-4 week tape delay right now. Feels like a lot of the stuff that we handled this week at the Capitol is stuff that we would normally see in the middle of those interim committee weeks. But as you may recall, we had 3 special sessions and a snow day. So weird start to the year. Courtney, how about you? When did it start to feel real?
I think the giant dump of bills.
Yep, the avalanche.
Made it really real.
And Pete, how about yourself?
The first day he
Does it
started
feel real?
here.
Yeah. I think the first day definitely
hit the
was
ground sprinting.
When it felt real for me? When term limits got agenda'd for this upcoming Monday. That is the gift that keeps on giving, and that one is back, courtesy of our old friend, Senator Blaise Ngolia. Courtney, what are we seeing from that bill right now?
Yeah, so this year it's a little different than last year. The bill would go to the ballot for referendum.
Statewide?
Yes, statewide, and it would push everyone to 8 years. So those charter counties who have already gone to the ballot will have to go back to the ballot, and the counties that are at 12 years would automatically drop down to 8.
And we welcomed Pinellas County to the 12-year club.
We did welcome Pinellas to the
election.
12-year club.
But all of those counties would now be sent back to the ballot again, despite having literally just voted on this.
Yes, they would.
Well, and this is one we just wanted to put on your radar early. Again, that is up Monday at, I think, is it 1:30, Courtney?
1:30.
In Senate Ethics and Elections.
Ethics and Elections.
And so please, you guys were phenomenal last year as a resource for us. Call your delegation members. Let them know that this is not going to work. This is taking power out of the hands of the voters, especially, how they're setting up as a statewide referendum. You could have kind of the population centers like Miami-Dade County making decisions on whether term limits are right for some of our small rural counties, and that's just not going to work. There's no one-size-fits-all approach here. So again, please, make your voices heard on this one. But it really does feel real now. We will get back to policy in a moment, but that was kind of our hot-button issue. But Amir, why don't you catch us up on what's been going on with immigration? We got some news this week.
So this week, what we've seen coming down from the feds is 700,000 issued civil warrants for not just incarcerated folks, but these are going to be illegal, undocumented immigrants. So in order to act upon these 700,000 warrants, the feds have dropped their WSO training, which is a 40-hour self-paced online course that we've seen roughly around 500 FHP officers start taking. So we should start seeing folks act on these 700,000 warrants. If not by the end of this week, early next week. The next step here is finding a place to put them once we catch them.
And that's where we come in.
And that's where we come in. We've been coordinating with 10 of our counties that own and operate their own jails, just ensuring that they fall under compliance. And the document signed was, a basic ordering agreement that allows us to hold these ICE detainees for up to 48 hours. And then the thought process following that is that ICE will then come and pick them up after the 48 hours. This isn't written in stone yet, so we're still working out the kinks and just trying to find some reassurance on our end through our communication with the new ED, which is Larry Keefe, and talking to some folks in the governor's office just to ensure that some of our county concerns are met. So
Well, and Amir did a phenomenal breakdown of this in our Week 0 session preview. But just to kind of take a step back and break this down for you guys, FAC in the past has kind of kept hot button political issues like immigration at arm's length.
Yep.
But where we kind of got pulled into this one was not the people side, but kind of that compliance side with those county jails. And as I understand it, right now we got full participation, 10 out of 10.
Right now we're full participation, and we just want to make sure everyone falls in line for that April 1st deadline, which will come faster than we expected. So that's where we're at with that. I'll definitely keep everyone up to date with any new information that comes in terms of that compliance side. So
thank you, Amir. It was Palm Beach County Days this week. How'd you guys like, Pete, how'd you like your first big county day at the Capitol?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting introduction to my time here at FAC. There was a lot of people. It was nice to meet everybody from county, assistants, managers, and attorneys to, folks in the Palm Beach County delegation. And, I learned a lot, and it looks like these folks are ready to get rolling with the legislative session.
They mobilized in force, man. There were like 300, Palm Beach folks out here.
Coming out the
Every
gate
one of them
fast,
with the
too.
beads on, the Lily Pulitzer. They brought Worth Avenue with them, I think.
Did any of you guys make it to any of the Palm Beach, gatherings afterwards, or the mixers or anything like that?
Yeah, they had a great first night at Loft, and then the
great.
second night was out in the Capitol courtyard. Food, drinks. They had their special spritzer there.
They
That
had a
was
Palm
really
Beach
cool.
Spritz, if you've never had one.
Oh, no, I haven't. I
it's
missed
like
that.
an Aperol Spritz, but instead of Aperol, it's Paw liqueur, those little like citrus
Okay, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Someone posted this on
and
LinkedIn.
It was delightful, man. The summer in a cup.
Right, and then we
so
finished off the night at the lovely Charlie Park.
We did.
Come on.
These
Some
guys know
very
how to
nice
throw a party,
views.
Yeah,
so.
Well, thank you, obviously, to everyone from Palm Beach who came up, made their presence felt, both in the Capitol and out. I don't know who the next county day is, but God, we love seeing our folks come up. I know Broward is the same
like
day as us, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if there are any next week. We will keep you guys.
Polk County is next week.
Polk County's
right?
next
March
week.
12th.
All right.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
shout out
right.
to Polk County.
Good deal. We're looking forward to seeing Polk County and all of our other counties that plan on mobilizing at the Capitol this session. We like the power in numbers. With that being said, next thing on our docket here is we wanted to talk Doge real quick. Doge fever has made it to Florida. You might have been following along with kind of the deregathon up in the federal government, and our governor down here has decided that that is something he would like to see more of in Florida, and so he issued an executive order. Was it last week?
Yeah, I think middle of last week or the week before.
But this is obviously, seeing something like that means we got to take it fairly seriously, and it would establish a Doge-like program here to kind of streamline certain government programs and cut unnecessary spending.
And that's the big word here, is unnecessary.
That's the
No
landmine.
one has a definition for it yet, except the governor in his brain, most likely. So this isn't going to be 100% data driven. They have already started scanning publicly faced budgets,
Literature, websites.
for counties, public schools, anything like that. So we don't know what's going to come of this yet.
Well, and the two kind of big areas he said he wanted to focus on, trimming spending and stuff like that, were local governments and the state university system. We're not exactly sure what this is going to look like right now.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part, is that we don't know what we don't know. And one thing we want to point out is that anything that, our county commissioners deem a public interest, that makes it legal. And then, the clerk obviously has to, stamp it, sign off. For them to say that they're cutting unnecessary spending at the local level is a little bit concerning, because we don't know how he's going to wield that power. That being said, we saw the avalanche start last week with, filed bills. Like I mentioned, they're kind of on that 2-3 week tape delay, but this was the first week that we really kind of got into the nuance of some of these policies. What are we seeing so far, guys, from this first week as far as, priority bills for our counties?
I'll start it off with Senator Rodriguez's SB 322. And if you're unfamiliar with this is a bill that's just expanding on last year's public sleeping and camping bill. It creates non-judicial procedures for a property owner to request the county sheriff to remove an unauthorized person from commercial real property. A lot of the communication going on during the committee was, don't sheriffs already have the authorization to do this? And apparently they do, just for residential property, but this bill is looking to kind of equal it out on the commercial property side. So we watched this make it through Senator Probst for Crim J. Now it moves on to its last committee stop, which is Senate Rules. This is one of those bills that just kind of...
2 stops?
It had 3. This bill moved ridiculously fast, honestly, before my eyes, but doesn't do too much damage to us. It's just good to
There's very
keep
interesting
following,
bills that are
seeing the
moving
progression.
ridiculously fast.
That's something to monitor, though,
Yeah.
given kind of how big of a lift that House Bill 1365 was last year with the public camping issue. Since that passed last year, we've seen a Supreme Court case with, major implications for this.
And I imagine this issue's going to have, kind of like Live Local, just a bunch of glitch bill fixes as sessions pass just to get it in the right posture, make it workable. So,
Speaking of Live Local, I don't know if we can call it Live Local 3.0 yet or the glitch bill again, but we are seeing a handful of affordable housing bills come out. Vicky Lopez on the House and Senator Claudiud once again on the Senate is carrying the 2 Live Local bills. We are still digging through them, talking to staff. If you guys see any pressing issues, please reach out to me. But it's heavy preemption on the House side. The Senate side is a little less, but carries some stuff over.
I have got a pretty big one that, was moving this week, and that is President Albritton's Rural Renaissance Bill. It's actually being carried by Senator Simon. That's SB 110. But, for anyone following along, Senate President Ben Albritton went on the speaking circuit this past summer and fall, and he was really hammering his desire for this rural renaissance. Everything from kind of job growth, population growth, economic development. And so what we got, this manifested as a 127-page, very comprehensive bill, $200 million in initial appropriations within this bill, as well as a handful of, let's say, shifts from one trust fund to another, or new formulas for calculating some of these distributions to these key rural programs. And on its surface, it looks overwhelmingly good for our rural counties, and kind of given where it's coming from. FAC is looking for kind of every reason to get behind this thing. But before we do, we are just trying to make sure that, among these shifts, we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. We want to make sure that, that there's no county getting a smaller slice of the pie while others are kind of gaining here. But, overwhelmingly a good bill. And like I said, it's nice to see an investment in our rural communities.
Yeah, and over in the House side, we're looking at HB 623 by Representatives Gerwig and Castle. It essentially exempts the personal identifying and location information of current county and city administrative officials and their families from public record requirements. This is something that was part of FAC's legislative action plan, and we in Miami-Dade County waved in support in the House Intergovernmental Affairs Subcommittee. Thankfully, the House bill passed unanimously, and Representative Daley in debate voiced support, emphasizing that appointed officials not elected by the public should be able to return home without fear of harassment. And also, on Wednesday, the House Economic Infrastructure Subcommittee, they hosted a panel discussion on the utility use of the public right-of-way. We had one of our own, Hardy County Assistant Manager, Christopher Simpron. He represented county governments on the panel, along with several other utility provider representatives. And essentially, the panel provided an overview of the permitting processes utility providers must follow to install and maintain the infrastructure, as well as how they coordinate with local governments and the Department of Transportation when utility relocations are required.
Pete, you're a natural, brother. You see why we hired this guy? And he actually is. He's signaling to me that he wants more. Pete, what else you got for him?
Well, essentially, both the county and the county governments and the Department of Transportation, along with the utility provider representatives, agreed that more coordination and proactive communication is really what they're trying to focus on. We had Representative Tremont question the financial obligation of utility providers when they're required to relocate their infrastructure when a local government does require it, and whether such costs would ultimately impact customers through increased rates. And most of the panel pretty much clarified that, the increase in rates will happen if the utilities continue to pay, or the consumers will end up paying more taxes if it's passed over to the counties. So most of them just agreed that the state doesn't need to dictate coordination elements through additional legislation.
Nicely done, Pete. And just to reset real quick, we introduced Pete on our Week 0 preview last time, but just for context here, Pete will be working on FAC's technology portfolio going forward. So he gets 2 great chairs in Chair Greg Weiss and Vice Chair Larry Harvey.
That's right.
And
I was able to meet him at Palm Beach County.
Yeah,
so
the whole gang was there. But we're looking forward to Pete hitting the ground running on some of these issues going forward. Courtney, what do you got for us?
I was going to say, to keep it in the growth management sphere, it's not up yet, but the private provider bill is becoming a very hot topic within these 4-block radius. I have absolutely loved how much context every county has sent me about what they think about private providers in their local governments. We are fighting this bill as hard as we can. Rep. Gentry has a lovely open door policy and has let us stop in and talk to him at any point. So we are keeping the lines of communication open with him to ease everyone who has read this bill and not reached out to me yet. We can only take his word right now until I see it on paper, but he has confirmed that he will be taking out the ability of these private providers to give out these building permits. He does not like it. He does not think it's safe, and public safety is our number one concern here. We do think that there is a space for private providers to work alongside local governments, but it has to be done correctly, and that's where our fight's going to be.
And that has been his rhetoric kind of all along, is that regardless of how much we bring these private providers into the fold, there has to be a role for the county to have kind of final sign-off for the sake of these public safety implications.
Yeah, and everyone is doing a really awesome job at sending me all the examples they have if I need them.
Well, and once again, looking forward to next week. The DAX package, Senate Bill 700, is not on a calendar just yet, but we're expecting it to be on Tuesday in Senate Agriculture. It's Senator Trunow's bill. He's the chair of the committee, and so we're thinking he's going to make that one a priority here. And the main provision that we have been following is you might recall certain conversations from back in the fall throughout our policy development process about solar projects on ag lands. And kind of what we're seeing is a handful of these IOUs are buying up a lot of the cheap ag lands and converting them into solar farms, which, FAC has been supportive of solar renewable energy in the past. And so this certainly is no slight to them. But a handful of our rural commissioners have come forth and asked that we look for more of a balance here in the policy. You might recall a couple years back, we were preempted from regulating, the siting of any solar farms below 75 megawatts. Those basically just get, administratively approved at this point. And what we've seen since then is the development of a lot of projects that are kind of right at that threshold, 74.5 megawatt farms. And so, for our rural counties, we're looking for a fix. There's a handful of bills out there, and there is some language in the DAX package. However, the process that it's authorizing us to use is a little unclear right now as to which solar projects it would apply to. And it kind of resembles the PSC siting process, which is very technical. There's we've spoken to committee staff, and there's maybe a dozen people across the state that are, very qualified to do kind of these in-depth siting studies of these major projects. it's not necessarily something that our counties are going to have in-house and be able to do a sophisticated study without contracting it out. So as much as I think this was well-intentioned by Commissioner Simpson's team, we're not sure that it's quite hitting the mark as far as what we were looking at early on. However, we have kind of ongoing conversations, and we want to make sure we get this thing right. Just to put it on your radar, there are 2 other bills outside the DAX package that do address this. They would fully repeal that 2021 preemption. And so in theory, what that would look like is kind of the pre-2021 status quo where local governments were able to do certain zoning and land use regulations of these large solar projects in their communities. And again, this is not necessarily about going to war with anyone in particular. It's really just about finding a right balance for our local communities here. So we'll keep you guys posted on that one as well. Look for that next week.
Yeah, and speaking on next week, things are getting crazy, guys.
Yeah.
Next week we are stacked on stacked with bills and committees. If you guys have anything that needs to be brought to our attention, please let us know. We are probably going to be very crazy these next few weeks since those special sessions took up all of our committee week times. This is how they are doing it. They are just stacking everything on top of each other. So we are going to be a busy bunch, but we're never too busy for you guys.
They are making up for lost time, that's for
yes,
sure.
so please reach out if
session.
you need us.
And we really mean that. I always like to say that this is this association works so well because it's a two-way street where we're kind of feeding you guys the information of what's going on at the Capitol, and then you're feeding back what you're seeing on the ground, locally, and how kind of this would impact the boots on the ground, where the rubber meets the road. Sorry, we've been making a list of all the big buzzwords that we hear up here at the Capitol. It's like 100 words long.
Massive list.
Carrot or stick, bring it in for a landing. And so we're just kind of testing out some of those new buzzwords. I digress. Please make your voices heard if you're seeing anything that is any cause for concern in your community, and let us know, because the more we can kind of bring technical expertise to these legislators, they genuinely might not know that there's a problem with language as it's written, and so when we can kind of be the source of that information, that's our currency. With that being said, I wanted to just real quickly go down the line of a handful of environment bills that I've been looking at so far, and just really high level, put these on your radar, kind of gather feedback if you guys have any input here. Senate Bill 1142, Release of Conservation Easements, by Senator Rodriguez. She's the chair of the Senate Environmental and Natural Resources Committee. And what this bill would do is makes it easier to break some of these Florida Forever easement documents in developed corridors. The easement can be released at the landowner's discretion if it's surrounded on 3 or more sides by impervious surfaces. Another one is House Bill 1175 by Rep. Duggan, and that is kind of reforming the mitigation banking credit release process. And specifically, some of the language we're zeroing in on here is it would allow for off-site impact mitigation, and so in theory you might have a development down in South Florida, and this bill would allow you to mitigate the impacts up in the Panhandle somewhere. We would really like to see it kept in the watershed, in the service area, but again, if you guys have any projects like that in your communities, please let us know. One last one is House Bill 1187 and Senate Bill 1208, dealing with sewer laterals. Those are by Representative Nix, who is a freshman, and Senator Truenow, respectively. If your county owns, public wastewater utility, this would require you to establish both an inspection program for any service laterals, connecting to the public main, and then for those that don't meet a certain grade on that inspection, the cost burden falls to the county to repair these as well. Again, just a handful of environment stuff that I've been tracking. Wanted to make you guys aware. But with that being said, anything else for the good of the order, folks?
Yes, I found something very important that we all need to mark on our calendars.
And what's that?
Next Tuesday, March 11th, is Girl Scout Cookie Day at the Capitol.
No, that's actually
Bring your
exciting.
$5 or $7. I don't even know how much these boxes are anymore.
They're probably like $10.
All right, let's
Right.
hear
Due
it.
to
What's everyone's
inflation.
favorite?
Thin Mint.
Samoas.
You
for
freeze them?
sure.
Yeah, you gotta freeze the
Yeah, you
Thin
gotta
Mints.
freeze them. All right. Oh, wow, that's interesting.
You didn't answer.
Yeah,
I'm a
Thin mints,
Okay.
thin mints you have to freeze.
You gotta
There's
freeze,
no
you
other
gotta
way to eat
freeze.
them.
Samoa's.
The issue is like that takes time, and as soon as I buy the box, I just want to rip it open.
That's why you got to buy a backup box.
So.
You eat one box and you put the backup box in the freezer.
I know. They should like flash freeze them on site for you.
I love that we're seeing Girl Scouts come back because I don't know about you guys,
I
but
can never
I've seen
find
like a
that.
4-year hiatus.
fell off.
Bro, 4-year hiatus. This past 4 years, I haven't seen a single Girl Scout on the
Since we
street
were in
slinging
college.
cookies, man. I was.
Well, thank you, Courtney. And I guess that will wrap us up for the week. As always, thank you guys for listening, and welcome back to a brand new season of Fact Check. Stay with us, and we'll make sure that you're kept up to date on everything going on at the Capitol.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
But with that being said, that is Jared,
y'all.
Courtney, Amir, and Peter signing off.
Signing off.